Hello everyone and welcome to the AVL Guitar channel. I wanted to talk today a little bit about Ibanez and what they've been doing, and more importantly what they have not been doing. Before we get into that, I do want to say that I am a big Ibanez fan, and I have several different models. The S series is my favorite personally, but I do enjoy the RG and the RGAs. I know Ibanez have lately been focusing more on the AZ line and that, like the Q, the headless stuff a lot. But I feel like that is to the neglect of some of their other lines that are just as good, and I feel like personally they're a lot more, maybe not sought after, but I feel like less people get rid of them. Like I see less come up for trade or in the used market. So I want to get into that. I'm going to start off by just looking at their flagship model, the RG. I mean, you have 9 different ranges just for the RG. You've got the Axe Design Lab, which essentially looks just like a J Custom, but with, well, at least that one does. And you got these other couple finishes. Then you got the J Customs, which you have a few different options. And I understand that some of the higher end range guitars, like they might not have as many options because less people are buying them. So more people are buying Prestiges and below. And they do have quite a bit, like in the RG range, of Prestige models. You have a lot of different finishes, which is cool. I don't think they've neglected the RG line at all. And then you got the 550 Genesis collection, the premiums, and I do think it's cool that the premiums are all neck through. I'm a fan of neck throughs, although Ibanez's all access heel joint is really good. And it makes most other heel joints, in my opinion, look like big chunks of wood that are just in your way. You got the Axiom label, which has only one model. Iron label, which has a couple. It's got the baritone and the standard. And then they have a lot of different guitars in the standard range, which is good. I think that's important. I think they should have a lot. And they got the Geo, which there's a lot of options there too. But then let's look at RGA, which is just the archtop version of the RG, which I personally like a little bit better than the RGA, or than the RG. They have the Axe Design Lab, they have one model in there. And then they just go straight to standard, and they've only got 4 models. And one of them is a 7-string, which at least they have a 7-string in this range. But I feel like they just kind of neglected these, and I don't know. I think the RGAs are good guitars. I had one of these 742s in the Dragon Eye Burst, which is another talking point right there. And then they've got the Geo, which they got 2 models, the quilted maple on top, and then just the flat color. So I feel like they neglected a lot of models in the RGA line. RGD has actually some, they don't have a ton of stuff, they've got a few. They've only got 1 model in the standard range, and that's a 7-string. And then they've got a couple in the Axiom label, and then a couple of Prestiges, and then you've got the Axe Design Lab, which has a few. I feel like that's been a little neglected as well. And then the S, which is my personal favorite, they have the Axe Design Lab, which is this multi-scale, which I still have not played a multi-scale guitar. I'd be interested in playing one. I don't want to buy one just to try it out. So, but their Prestige line, They used to have a lot more options. They have 3 right now. One fixed bridge with an HH configuration, and then 2 different ones with trim that have the HSH, which I've probably mentioned already that I'm not a fan of middle pickups just at all. I don't think they look great, and I think that they get, most importantly, they get in the way of my picking. Maybe that's just because I'm really heavy-handed with my pick, but I like to dig in a lot, but I just don't like having a middle pickup. And I think it's sad that now, if you go through all the ranges, any S-Series model that has a trim has a middle pickup. They don't even have, like, dragging guitars with it. They don't even have something like this anymore, which is the S520. They discontinued that and put out the S570, which has the middle pickup. But they need more with this configuration with a trim, but they need them in the prestige range too, because why would they only offer like a budget guitar with that configuration? I don't particularly like that, but yeah, so they'd have very little options with the prestige line, than much less than they used to back in probably the mid 2000s to the mid 2010s. They've got one Axiom label. We got the premium, which has 2 finishes, and the only new colors they came out with this year was this in the, I think it was in the Black Burst or whatever, and then they came out with this S770 with this weird color. But yeah, so I don't know, all that to say that I think Ibanez has kind of just stalled out on a few models, and so 5 of the things that I'd like to see them do is, 1, more new finishes, like this Dragon Eye Burst on the S621 and the S670. It's been out for way too long. I think it's time to move on, get a new finish. I mean, they've had a couple other cool finishes in the past, and I do have one of those, the 621, and I think it looks good with the red pickups and the red and black pickups and the black and red knobs. Kind of gives it a unique look, but it's not my favorite finish. It was cool when it first came out, and now they're, I don't know, it's kind of played out if you ask me. I know they just put it on one of the AZs, but I think it's time to move on from the Dragon Eye Burst, at least on the S models, on the 621 and the 670. And I think, so yeah, more new finishes just on all of their ranges, at least the RGA, RGD, and the S. Those are the few that they've neglected over the last few years, I feel like. And then with the S specifically, I think they need to offer more trim-equipped models that have just an HH configuration. And then yeah, they've also had this on the 521. They've had this, like, what is it called? Blackberry Sunburst. They've had that forever. This Ocean Fade is not, I don't like it. But, and I see a bunch of those on Guitar Center's website used, so it seems like people don't care about them. But there's just a lack of options with these. So yeah, more new finishes, more S models throughout their entire range, and more RGA models. Especially, I've never owned an RGD, but I play down a whole step with most of the tunings for my band, but or at least on 6 strings. But I like having a little bit less string tension and thicker strings, so I don't think I would buy an RGD because I don't want the longer scale length. But yeah, I think it'd be good that they have more models on those as well. And then just so on Ibanez's website, you can actually look up old models that they've done. You can go into the parts lookup, and you can show the archive, and you can see all the different models they've made. And they had some really cool models. Like they actually had a J Custom at one point, which was, I mean, that's an awesome looking guitar. I think I saw one post one up for sale a while ago on Reverb, and they wanted, I think, $3 grand or more, which is understandable because they're really rare, and people hold on to these old S series models, and they don't come up too often. But they had, even at one point, they had where is it? It's the S. Oh, it's gonna be way down there. They had the S. So they have the 520, which I have one of those, but then they had an S620, which, if you're not too familiar with Ibanez's names, if it ends in a 20, that means it's a humbucker with a trem. If it ends in 21, it's a humbucker with a fixed bridge. And so, yeah, they had a couple of different 620s, which would be a dual humbucker with the trem, which I think they need to make more of these, instead of just the 670, which is the HSH with the trem. And if it was a HSH with a fixed bridge, it would be 7.1. But like stuff like this, I think they should make again. And then they also need to make more 7-string S's. They haven't made one of those in a while. The last one, I think, was a premium, the 10.7. What was it? It was like a 1027. The names get a little different on the premiums. Yeah, 1027. I think this was the last 7-string model they had. But I have here this S521, or 7521, which is a killer guitar, and this was made in 2014, which was right before they stopped making like really cool models, in my opinion. But this is one that, I don't know, it showed up on Guitar Center for like $350, and they didn't even have a picture, but I was like, I'm gonna buy that, and I did, and I was really glad I did, because it was in really good shape too. Like there was not hardly any wear on it. It still has the like plastic film on the cover back here. There's barely any play on it, so it was in really good shape. I picked that up sometime last year, like I think October, November, or something like that. That was a really good find, but they don't pop up very often. I did see a 7420, which has the Gibraltar. It's the same thing as this, but with the dot inlays centered, and then it has a Gibraltar bridge instead of the like flat plate. Saw one of those pop up, and that was like right after this, and that was like or 500, I think, and then I saw an S7 420, which would have been basically that model, but with a trim, and it had the ZR trim with the 0-point system, which I think they should bring those back. I actually liked, I had an S7 320 at one point, and that was actually a really good trim. It was, I mean, obviously with the 0-point system, it was very stable. I don't really use the whammy bar that much, but for just being able to do the whammy bar stuff, I never really did flutters, so that didn't really bother me. But I think those were really stable, and I'd like to find a 7 420 that had the 24 frets instead of the 22 like the 320. And it's weird, there were a few 7 420s that also had 22 frets, like the FM, the Flame Maple top ones had 22 frets. That was kind of weird. There was a point where they switched to 24 frets, and we need more of those, more S7 strings, more RGA 7 strings, more ZR trims, bring those back, and the 0-point systems, which the only current model I think that they have those in is the newest Nita Strauss signature. I believe this white one, the Jiva X2, that has the 0-point trim in it, or the 0-point system in it, but her other models didn't. So I thought that was interesting. But that's the only one I think at the moment that has a 0-point system. But yeah, those are 4 of the things. So more new finishes, more S models, RGA and RGD. Bring back the ZR trim. I think that'd be a good idea. And the 0-point systems. And the final thing, actually, well, final thing, and then I'll give you a bonus. The final thing I think they should bring back across all the ranges is the iron label. I think an S series iron label, an RGA series iron label. They already have the RGs. I think they had the RGDs. They have RGD iron label. And they have Axion label. They have at some point. I think they need to bring those back. Those were cool. I like just all blacked out. I think that was a cool aesthetic, and I think that would look good on the S's. And just a side note, like I know this is mostly about electric guitars, but I do have to say that their BTB iron label looks freaking sweet. I think that has a really cool aesthetic. But yeah, they need to do that across all their guitar ranges again, not just limit it to a couple. And then the last thing, the bonus, is they need to bring back the ARZ range. Like I bought one of those, the ARZ 307, and it is probably my all-time favorite 7-string. It just plays great. Oh, my straps are getting intertwined. But yeah, this thing for a Les Paul style guitar, I love the heel joint on it. It's so smooth. Got great access to the upper frets. It's not really in your way. And on some of the later models, they ended up putting the pickup selector up here, like a traditional Les Paul, which is cool. That's the only thing that I would prefer different on this, and maybe two volume, 2-tone, or at least 2 volume. I like having 2 volume knobs, but those were awesome, and they made some pretty cool ones, but I think they need to bring back the ARC. So, that's just my thoughts. Like I said, I am a fan of Ibanez, but I feel like they've just been getting lazy lately, and I'd like to see them do more things. Bring back cooler models, more 7-strings, and get rid of middle pickup only options on trem models. I don't know why they would do that. It seems silly to only offer HSH on trem models for the S series. They don't do that on any other model, but for some reason on the S's they do. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. What models do you miss? Do you think they should bring back? What options you think they should bring back on models that they currently produce? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.